Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. We are here today at Stratford Oaks Golf Club, which is in Stratford, which is sort of North Warwick. This is a par 71, and playing off the yellow tees today, this was a little short of 5,900 yards. So as normal, we'll get into the review. So this is based on the general field and facilities, the course layout, condition and difficulty, and finally onto the value of the course. So, onto the general feel and facilities. I've given this a score of 5 out of 5. I actually couldn't fault the facilities at all. They were really good. As you'll see, there's a Trackman driving range, really good sort of warm up, sort of putting and chipping facilities, really nice bar and pro shop. The staff are actually really friendly as well, which always makes such a difference when you come to a new place. For the course layout, I'm going to give this a score of 3 out of 5. This probably isn't the most inspiring of all golf courses. I did feel it was a bit sort of straight up and straight down. There are a few interesting holes, and probably for the longer hitters there's a few reachable greens off the tee. There's no real sort of feature hole, and it did play pretty flat most of the way around. There was a bit of hazards, so a bit of trouble around the course as well, which does make it a little bit more interesting too. And onto the course condition, I've given this a score of 3 out of 5 as well. I must admit that the greens were absolutely fantastic. They ran very true, very consistent speed all the way around, and actually considering the rain that we were playing in on the day, they're actually pretty quick. So even when this was dry, I'd love to see actually how quick these greens are. You'll notice in the video a little bit later on just how much damage there is around the course, and this is mainly due to the amount of drainage that the club are looking to install. It's great to see that the club are actually doing something about this, but when you're playing this as a bit of a one-off, it is actually pretty disappointing. For the course difficulty, I've given this a 5 out of 5. If I'm honest, it is a bit on the easier side of golf courses. It's quite forgiving in places. The fairways are pretty wide, and even the sort of long link style grass is actually pretty good, and you could always find your ball, which is always really helpful. This is the perfect course if you're a high handicap golfer, or if you're a senior player who wants a pretty flat and short course to play around. And finally onto the value. We paid £50 for this round, and I do appreciate that this was at peak time, so 8 AM on a Saturday morning, but the course really didn't justify that price, mainly due to the layout and the condition of the course that we sort of received on the day. I didn't feel that it was worth 50 quid. 35 absolutely, 40 would probably be pushing it, but I didn't feel that it was worth £50, so I am going to give this a score of 3 out of 5. So this will give a total score of 19 out of 25 for Stratford Oaks. Please like and comment on the videos. I'd love to hear your feedback. Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. I am looking to start bringing more frequent reviews, and also looking to play some better courses to bring to YouTube as well. So we'll now get into each of the 18 holes and just provide a little bit of a strategy around each of those 18 holes. Hole 1, and a short par 4 to open up with. Off the tee though, you're going to need to think about the distance that you would prefer into the green. This hole plays over a small valley, and so the second shot will be playing to a raised green. So ideally you're going to want to try to play something over 200 yards just to try and get through that valley. You're going to have a little bit more room out to the right hand side as well, so if anything, just aim down the right hand side of the fairway. Your approach will need to factor in, as I mentioned, that raised green. I would aim to play just at least the yardage to the middle of the green, and just aim for the middle of the green too. This green has one bunker short right, and it also has a false front. This is quite a wide green, but not a particularly deep green, so yardage control is going to be really important for getting on the green here. The green has a gentle slope down towards the front of this green, so as you approach it, so you won't find too much movement, especially even if you are putting across the green. Hole 2, and a good length par 4 with a dog leg to the left. This is a good risk and reward hole. The two options here, you can either play it safe and aim towards the right of the two fairway bunkers in the distance, or aim towards the left hand bunker. This will sort of cut the corner off a little bit more. Your bailout here is actually to the right hand side of the fairway, but this will just leave you a longer shot into the green. Also, this hole is out of bounds all the way down the left hand side, and I really wouldn't risk playing anything down the left hand side. For your approach shot, again you're going to need to factor in the green here. This green has quite significant runoff areas, especially to the left hand side, and there's also 2 bunkers short right. Almost irrespective of where this pin is though, I would just aim for the middle of the green for both yardage and aim. Your miss here is actually long and right. This is a green that isn't particularly very deep, but it is also quite wide. The green has a gentle slope down towards the front left of this green, so if you are putting from distance, you probably won't find too much movement here. Hole 3, and a relatively short par 5, but one you probably won't want to reach into. Off the tee though, you're going to want to cover at least 200 yards, as this will help you to find the widest part of the fairway. Anything past this point, the rough really does narrow in a bit. The hole is out of bounds all the way down the left hand side, so I would just take aim towards the right hand side of the fairway. There is also quite a bit of room for error down this right hand side. For your second shot though, you're just going to need to think about what shot you want into the green. There is a bunker that sits about 50 yards in front of the green, so if anything, probably just best to lay up short of that. For your approach to the green though, this is a narrow green with mounds and runoff areas surrounding pretty much the entirety of this green. So if anything, just play the yardage to the middle and just aim for the middle of this green. The right hand side will be the best miss, as the left hand side and long is out of bounds. The green has a gentle slope down towards the front of the green, but again, don't expect too much movement here. Hole 4, and a good length par 3 which will require quite an accurate tee shot. This green is long and narrow with just the 1 bunker short right. I would take aim at the silver birch tree at the back of the green and just play the yardage to the middle of the green. Anything missed left and long will find collection area, which will leave a really tough up and down, and anything missed right will likely find some long grass. The green again is pretty flat from most angles, so don't expect too much movement here, but due to the length of this green, really good pace control is going to be essential for minimising the amount of putts on this green. Hole 5, and another good risk and reward odd here, this time to a dog leg to the right. The line off the tee though will actually just be to cut the corner off over the trees in the right hand rough. Again, a hole that you're actually going to have to think about your approach to the green. There is a bit of water just sat right in front of the green, so the closer you can get to that, the better. Off the tee though, you're going to want to play no more than about 250 yards, as this will bring the water into play. For your approach shot, I would almost ignore where the pin is and just play the yardage and aim for the middle of the green. There is a temptation to play a little bit more club here just to get clear of the water, but there are 2 large bunkers sat at the back of this green. This would leave actually quite a daunting shot playing back towards the water. Again, if anything, just the green plays completely flat, so don't expect too much movement, but again, this is another wide green, so you will likely find some long putts here. Hole 6, and a fairly short par 3, however this is quite a tough green as it is slightly raised from the tee box and there are 3 bunkers playing around the front of this green. I would just take aim at the gap between the left and the middle bunker and play the yardage to the middle. Anything missed long will likely find runoff areas towards the back, leaving a tough up and down from a collection area. The green is shaped like an upturned down saucer, so there may be some movement from the outer edges of this green, but you typically won't find too much movement around the middle of this green. Hole 7, and a good length par 5 here. This is quite a risky par 5, so I would just try and get your ball in play as best as you can off the tee. The safe option here would be just to play short of the bunkers, and this will mean playing something less than 200 yards off the tee. Anything missed out to the right and you will find the channels which has been dug out pretty much the entirety of this hole. You will need to try and play at something 240 yards if you do want to try and get clear of those bunkers, but this is quite a risky shot. For your second shot though, you are best again just to lay up short of the bunkers that are down the left hand side. This will leave you something in the region of about 100 yards into the green. Ideally you would leave yourself down the right hand side of this fairway, as this will give you the best angle into the green. For your approach to the green though, a shot playing to the middle of the green for both yardage and distance will give you the best opportunity for getting down in 2. This green slopes down towards the front of this green as you approach it, so you can expect a bit of movement if you are having to put sort of across the green, and especially if you're having to put from distance. Hole 8, and a long par 3 that will play over 200 yards. There are two bunkers, one towards the right of this green and one that's about 50 yards short of the green, but this shouldn't trouble most golfers. I would take aim at just playing over the right edge of that left bunker and just play the yardage to at least the middle of the green. As this is quite a long green, if you can't reach that yardage, I would just lay up short of that bunker to the left. Anything missed to the right will likely find one of the dugout channels again, so aim a little bit towards the left if anything. This green has a gentle slope down towards the front of this green, but again, not one to find too much movement, even if put in pretty much the length of this green. Hole 9, and a short par 4, and for the longer hitters, this actually may be reachable off the tee. You will need to cover at least 230 yards off the tee to get clear of the bunker that is in the middle of the green. However, there is a very little room for error around this green, so the best option here would be actually just to lay up short of the bunker, which will leave you something in the region of about 100 yards into the green. For your approach to the green though, there is one bunker short left, so we'll take aim down the right hand side and just play the yardage to the middle of the green. This green has a false front and it gently slopes down towards the front. You can expect a little bit of movement if you are putting across the green, but generally speaking, not too much movement here. Hole 10, and a long par 5, and off the tee though, it's going to be really important just to get your ball in play. You're going to play to a narrow fairway which has trees lining all the way down the right hand side. So the sensible option here is either to try and get clear of the fairway bunker, but this will need at least 220 yards to get clear. If not, if you can't reach that sort of yardage, I would just lay up short of that. But however, the second shot should realistically just get you clear of the water hazard that is down the right hand side. And this should leave you something about 150 yards less into the green. Again, this is a narrow part of the fairway which is tree lined both sides, so this will require an accurate shot. For your approach to the green though, you'll want to try and avoid the bunker that is down the right hand side of this green at all costs. So I would just play the yardage to the back of the green. Unless the pin is at the front, then you could probably just aim to leave this short and try and get up and down from there. This green is long with plenty of room, long if needed. This green has a gentle slope down towards the front of the green, and again, so don't expect too much movement here, but again, you will need to be mindful of pace control if trying to make long putts here. Hole 11, and a long par 4 here, but actually a great opportunity to try and get down the fairway as far as possible. This does appear quite narrow off the tee, but it really does open out the further you get down. Taking aim towards that small bush in the background, I would recommend playing something over 220 yards, as this will help to try and find the gap that's in the trees within the fairway. The difficulty here to this hole is actually the approach shot to the green. There is one bunker short right, and this is a small green to try and hit. If the pin is at the front, it would actually be worth just laying up short of the green and trying to get up and down from there. But for most golfers, you have at least one shot here, as this is stroke index 1. So I would recommend actually just playing to the middle of the green for both yardage and aim. This green is shaped like an upturned down saucer, and you will find runoff areas all the way around this green. Do expect a bit of movement, especially if you are putting from the edges of this green as well. Hole 12, and a short par 4 this time, and again another good opportunity to try and get down the fairway as far as possible. However, you will want to try and avoid playing anything down the left hand side, as it does have one of those channels that's dug the entire length of this hole. Aiming down the right hand side may bring into the trees, however your aim here is actually just to aim for the green. I would try and find the widest part of the fairway and the rough, and you will need to cover at least 230 yards to be safe. Your approach shot to the green though will need to get clear of the bunker that is sat short left of this green. I would recommend playing the yardage to at least the middle of the green and just aiming to the right hand side of that bunker. The green, it has a false front and generally does slope down towards the front left of this green, so you can expect a bit of movement, especially if you are having to put across the green here. Hole 13, and a good risk and reward hole here, and off the tee for the longer hitters you do have the option of getting as close to this green as possible. However, just due to the amount of bunkers and the trouble down the right hand side, I don't feel like this is the best play. For most golfers, I would recommend laying up short of the two fairway bunkers that you find down the left hand side and using the green as your aim. It will require playing somewhere in the region of about 200 and 220 yards off the tee, and this will leave you nothing more than a short wedge into the green. For your approach to the green though, you are playing to a slightly raised green that has 2 bunkers short right. So play the yardage and aim for the heart of the green, as this green plays like an upturn down saucer with runoff areas all the way around. You probably won't find too much movement here unless you are having to putt from the edge of the green. A challenging par 3 here, and ultimately the difficulty here will be where the pin is positioned. If the pin is at the front right like it was when we played, this will be the easiest pin to try and find. However, if this is tucked back left, this will be a really tough pin to access. The green has water all the way down the left hand side and has a bunker short right. The best play here is just to play to the right and just trying to find the heart of the green. There is very little room for error around this green, so if you are in doubt, I would just play to the front of the green and try and leave it short of that bunker. The green has a gentle slope down towards the front left of this green, but again, don't expect too much movement here unless you are making a few long putts. Hole 15, and a tough par 4 here with a dog leg to the left. The line off the tee though will pretty much be the tree line down the left hand side. This is quite an intimidating tee shot, so it will require a really accurate tee shot to try and get past the turn. If you're unsure of playing this hole, I would play roughly around the region of 160 to 170 yards and just aim to keep your ball to the left of the bunker that you see in the distance. You do have actually quite a bit of space long of the bunker, and this actually isn't a bad shot if you actually do need it. For your approach to the green though, again this is going to be another tough shot, and if in doubt I would just play to the front of this green and just trying to get up and down from there. You will need to try and avoid the 2 bunkers, and also this is a green that has a huge bank at the back, so if anything, leaving this short will be the best option. I would play the yardage to the front of the green and just aim for the middle of the green as well. This green is generally sloped down towards the front left of this green as you approach it, but don't expect too much movement from most angles here. Hole 16, and off the tee this looks like quite a tough par 3, and this is just due to the 2 bunkers that you see sat at the front of this green. Your main aim here is just to try and get clear of these, and playing the yardage to the middle of the green and aiming for the middle of the green as well will give you the best option here. Anything missed left or right will be okay. You do have quite a bit of space either side of this green. The green is actually pretty small, and when it comes to the outside of the green you do have some gentle slopes out towards the edges there. However, I probably wouldn't find too much movement unless you are putting from the fringe of the green. Hole 17, and a good length par 4 which will require an accurate tee shot. The main aim here is just to get yourself into play off the tee. You have 2 fairway bunkers down the left hand side which you will ideally get clear of. This will need a shot over 220 yards, however this will bring into the water hazard that is down the left hand side. For your approach to the green, you will need to get clear of the 2 bunkers protecting the front of this green, so I would just take aim at the middle of the green and play the yardage to at least the middle as well. The back portion of the green is pretty flat, but the front half of the green does have a gentle slope down towards the front. But don't expect too much movement unless you're having to put diagonally across this green. And finally, hole 18, a reasonably short par 5, but this isn't a green that you're going to want to reach into. Off the tee, the sensible option here would be to lay up short of the bunker that is in the right hand side of the fairway. This will require a shot no more than about 210 yards. You won't want to play anything further than 260 yards, as there is one of those channels that runs across the fairway. For your second shot, again I would just take aim at the fairway bunker that you see in the distance and just try and leave that slightly short of it. The water hazard is all down the left hand side, and this will be all the way down from 220 yards all the way into the green. This will be a good place to lay up if necessary, and again just aiming to play a comfortable yardage into the green for that second shot. Your approach to the green though will need to play to the heart of the green. This is a pretty small green with water left and a bunker short right. If in doubt though, I would just play to the back right, as there is plenty of space out there, and the green does generally slope down towards the front of the green with more of a runoff area down towards the water. You can expect some movement, especially if you are having to put across the slope here.